Picture this. It's 117 CE, and if you're standing anywhere around the Mediterranean Sea, you're probably looking at Roman territory. North, south, east, west, doesn't matter. You're in Rome. But here's the crazy part. This massive empire stretching from Scotland to the Sahara Desert would never be this big again. Ever. This was Rome's peak, and the beginning of its biggest headache. The empire that ate the world. Under Emperor Trajan, Rome became an absolute monster. We're talking about an empire that made modern superpowers look like city-states. Want some perspective? Roman Britain stretched from Hadrian's Wall to the English Channel. In Europe, Roman borders ran from the Rhine River to the Danube, basically controlling everything we now call Germany, Austria, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria. Keep going east, and Rome owned Armenia, Syria, Palestine, and chunks of Arabia. Swing south through Africa, and the empire controlled Egypt, plus the entire North African coast all the way to Morocco. The Mediterranean wasn't just Rome's lake, it was Rome's highway. The secret to Roman success and its downfall. Here's something most people don't realize. Rome's power came from controlling the sea. Those famous Roman roads get all the attention, but the real game changer was naval supremacy. Need to move legions from Spain to Turkey? Sail them. Want to invade North Africa? Land troops from ships. But this Mediterranean-centered strategy also created Rome's ultimate weakness. The empire was basically a giant donut, powerful around the edges but with a gooey center that was increasingly hard to defend. When Rome hit the wall, literally. For centuries, Rome seemed unstoppable. They crushed Carthage, their biggest rival. They conquered everyone who dared to challenge them. Roman legions marched wherever they wanted, took whatever they wanted. But then Rome ran into problems even their legendary military couldn't solve. To the south, the Sahara Desert. Try marching a legion across that nightmare in bronze armor. Even Rome wasn't that crazy. To the west, the Atlantic Ocean. Unless Romans suddenly developed submarines, this was game over. To the north, this is where things got interesting. Sure, Rome could beat the Germanic tribes in battle. But here's the thing. You can't occupy a forest filled with people who absolutely refuse to stay conquered. Plus, for Romans born in sunny Italy, northern Europe was basically Siberia. The poet Ovid, exiled to what's now Bulgaria, a place where people vacation today, wrote heartbreaking poems about how freezing and miserable it was. To the east, this was Rome's biggest headache. Powerful empires like Parthia and Armenia weren't going anywhere. Rome could invade them, sure, even beat them in battle. But holding hostile territory thousands of miles from home, that was a different story entirely. Trajan's last hurrah. Emperor Trajan was Rome's final conqueror. This guy went absolutely nuts with expansion. He conquered Dacia, modern Romania, grabbed the Nabatean kingdom, annexed Armenia and Mesopotamia, captured the Parthian capital of Ctesiphon, and marched Roman eagles all the way to the Persian Gulf. It was the greatest military achievement in Roman history, and it was completely unsustainable. The moment everything changed. By the time Trajan died in 117 CE, Rome controlled more territory than ever before, or ever again. But the cracks were already showing. Rebellions erupted across the empire. The economy was straining under the cost of constant warfare. Managing territories from Britain to Iraq was becoming impossible. Trajan's successor, Hadrian, took one look at this mess and made a radical decision. No more expansion. From now on, Rome was playing defense. That's when Hadrian built his famous wall across northern Britain, not to keep enemies out, but to mark where Roman ambition ended. Similar defensive walls went up across Europe like ancient "do not enter" signs, the price of being too successful. Rome's greatest achievement became its greatest curse. The empire was simply too big to manage with ancient technology. No telephones, no cars, no planes, just horses, ships, and runners carrying messages across thousands of miles. When crisis hit one frontier, it could take months for help to arrive. When rebellions erupted simultaneously across the empire, Rome had to choose which fires to put out first. The logistics of ruling half the known world eventually broke even Rome's legendary efficiency. The lesson of peak Rome. So what's the takeaway? Even the mightiest empire in history discovered that there's such a thing as too much success. Rome spent centuries expanding, but when they finally controlled everything worth conquering, they learned a harsh truth. It's easier to conquer an empire than to keep it. Every superpower since has faced the same dilemma. How big is too big? How far is too far? Rome found out the hard way. What do you think? Could Rome have stayed strong if they'd stopped expanding earlier? Or was endless growth the only thing keeping the empire together? Drop your thoughts in the comments.